Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is R2 Guru. I have rebranded my channel. It's now called Code and Play. It's From now on I'm going to be uploading videos, sometimes two videos per week and sometimes just one video per week because I also work full time. I'd love if if this could be my full-time work, but for now I work full-time, so I need to have do get my job done before making tutorials. So some weeks I might upload two, some weeks I might just upload one video depending on how tight that week is. But right now this tutorial is about being able to make a dice roll and also to detect which number is facing up. So if you like the tutorial and you want more stuff like this, don't fail to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and also share with anyone you think this might be helpful with. That being said, let's run the game and see where we are headed. So now you would notice that it says that detected 4 because 4 is facing up, which is nice, which is what we want. So if I hit that and it rolls again, you see it says 5. If I go to where the dice is on the board, you see it's 5 dice up. So if I roll again, it says 6. So if we come here, look for the dice, look for the dice, 6. Nice. So this is what we're trying to recreate. And if you want me to work on the entire system there for the snake and ladder board game, I would do that. We would work on the cameras to be way better than this, and we would document all of that. So if you want to follow through that process, you can always follow. So if you want me to make this a complete series, please leave it down in the comments and I will not hesitate to do that. So the more people I see commenting down saying make this a series, the more I will be able to put my energy into that, because that is going to be useful information to help me serve you guys better. Anyway, let's get into the game. So how did I do this? Now, what I did was I got this dice from Fabs. So you could just check on Fab and look for free dice models, and you could use that, and it just makes your life a whole lot easier. You could use that and just get this entire thing running. Anyway, let's set up a new scene and let's start from scratch. Because I've done this like twice already. So I'm just going to create a new scene. We'll call that scene. Where is this? Where is this? Where is it? Scene. I'm going to call this board game new, right? Because I'm out of name and I'm bad with naming stuffs. So I just board game new. I'm going to hit open. So the first thing we want to do is, I do have my dice prefab already made. If you can see it here, if you can see here, I do have my dice prefab already made, but I'll walk you through the process of how I make this dice prefab. There are other ways to make this dice rolling system, but I just found this one to be easier especially for beginners to follow, and for somebody who's just trying to make a game that is not too bulky, too huge that you need to do a whole lot of optimization. If that's what you're trying to do, then this just fits in very, very well, very fine, and it works for you. So that being said, here we go. We have the dice and we have all our faces. Mind you, these are just regular cubes. These are just regular cubes that I turned into colliders. So I'm going to show you the process of doing this, but I'm just going to use same this thing when we start building the game as a whole. So what I did first was I this is where my model is, the source, and I'm going to drag this in. Now, after dragging this in, we do have this here. mind you, I had some settings already, which is 1.5 for my skill factor, because I found it was a little bit too small. So I changed my skill factor to 1.5 to make it easier, to make it match the board and to make it easier to see. Sorry if you are hearing me clapping my hands. I'm just used to doing that when I talk. Anyway, let's get going. I'm going to make this into a prefab, so I'm going to head out from here. We're going to go into our prefab folder. So as not to confuse this with this, I'm just going to change the name to dice 2. Sorry, 2. Now I'm going to drop this as a prefab, prefab variant here. So we do have this here. Sorry, not variant. And we're going to just, yeah, we're going to make this a prefab, just a prefab, yeah. So now that done, so now we're not going to be working directly here in the game scene, but I'm going to save it regardless. I'm going to hit this so we get into the prefab scene. And what you want to do is click on your prefab, right click, and do a create 3D object cube. So now we have a cube, which is a child object of this, right? So what we want to do is view the cube. View the cube. The cube is a little bit too big, so we're going to shrink it down a bit. Shrink it down a bit. Let's shrink it down a bit. So there you go. There's our cube. So I'm going to go to the top view. I think 4 is always top right now, so 4 is top. I'm going to go to top view here. It doesn't really matter. You can do it from anywhere you want. I'm just going to go to top view, make this slightly big. Go to left side and we're going to shrink it a tad bit. And we're also going to add okay, it already has a box collider, so we're going to go back to the top view. Let's make this slightly bigger because we can. Uh, yeah, I think this is good. Now let's come here and let's take this to the top. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this with Control D, and we're going to take this to the bottom. Now, if you look very well, you notice that the top cube is facing up and the bottom cube is also facing up based on this green arrow here. So you know the Y are both pointing up. So what you do in this case, you would rotate the bottom one to point down. It's very important they point downwards because that's how you're able to cast a ray to know, okay, I'm looking down. I'm supposed to look downwards, and I'm casting a ray to look at to know where I'm looking at. So for this we're going to do 180. Now if you click, you see it's pointing downwards and this is pointing upwards. So for ease of this thing, ease of identification, this cube we will call 4, because if you take a look at the number there, it's 4, and this lower one we would call 3. Right now we're going to select both, hit Ctrl D, and we're going to spin them this way. Yeah, you might have to make the final adjustment after rotation, because I don't have rotation snap turned on. So you could just come here. I'm selecting this. As you can see, it's pointing this way. So I'm just going to change this to 90. So this should be negative 90. Now if you check this is 5, so we're going to change this to 5. And if you check this, it's 2, so we're going to change this to 2. So now we're going to look at take 2 and 5, do a Control D, right? Was it 2 and 5 here? Okay, 2 and 5 there, Control D. Then we'll do this, which would give us a 180. So that's I think this is, oh, what blunder. Okay, sorry about that. So this would be 90 minus 90. And this would be 1. Now we'll go for the next one. Oh, my bad. This is 1. This is 6. Sorry. And this is 1. That's minus 90. Now, let's check if they are all facing the right direction. So we're going to hit our move to right direction, right direction, right direction. So you can see right direction, as you can see, and right direction, as you can see. So we have all three of them. Now we're going to select all three of them and set them to be triggers, because very important for them to be triggers. Now after that, we're going to select our dice, and we have a script which I've written. I will explain what those script does. So we have this script for controlling the camera, we have this script for controlling the dice, the raycasting, and we have one for rolling the dice. So we're going to check the dice roller first, because that's the script we'll be attaching here. After attaching that, I'm going to set this to 2 and this to 2, and we're going to hit save. Now I'm going to click on this so I can explain the code for you guys to see. So I'm going to click it and I'm going to explain the code, and I will have the code, all the codes for this linked in the description. If you want to download and use, you can do that. So here we go. So first off, make sure to clear your this play section where you have using Unity stuff, blah blah blah. Remove any unused stuff. Right now we're just using the Unity engine, so every other thing can go. So name of our script, obviously dash roller. Very essential. It has to be the same name with what you have uh, in your Unity project folder. So the next thing we have is rigid body. So rigid body allows some level of physics calculation for any object. So if you have a rigid body component on your object, then you are enabling physics basically. So this just gets our key down. So if we hit the space button, it could be any button you set. For me, is space. And then we call this roll dice function, and here you go. This is the roll dice function. So we take the rigid body, we add an angular, we reset the values, keep everything at 0, and then we generate a random vector 3 direction, which is then normalized, and we pass that direction into our rigid body at force, which just helps us to create random directions for our dice to roll towards or to move towards. And then we have the force mode set to impulse and the roll force value, which we have here at the top: roll force value and roll force torque. So after we've done that, we also create a random vector torque, which we also add to the object, in the same kind of format for generating the random direction. We also generate the random torque. and we do that, and then you can get this. So once we do that, the function is called. Once it's called, then the dice moves. That in itself can help us know what direction of the dice is facing up, but it just helps us roll the dice. So the next portion of this is going to be the section of our code that actually does the recasting, so we can know what face is facing up. So I'm going to take the dice face recast. I'm going to take this script, and it's right here. First off, you have to ensure that all six faces are registered in this faces list here. So we're just going to go in and add them one by one. For sake of organization, I usually like to add them by numbers. So one, two, three, four, five, and six. So that said, that's that. So I also have like a section. I'll just explain the script quickly. So here we are, this is where we're adding all the faces so that we can register all the faces basically in the list, so we can know which of them is casting up, or casting up to this to the sky or whatever. So we have our ray length, which is 2f right now because it's a float value, but I'll be changing this in the inspector when we start when we run the game. Now we also have the public float called reset threshold. Um, so this determines how still the dice is. You'll see how this is being applied in the code when we get there. So we have this reset check time. So basically all these are meant to find out when the cube is actually at rest before we do the casting to see which cube is pointing upwards, and then we can. It's very important because if you cast when the cube is not at rest, then you'll probably get a wrong number a lot of times. So we just make sure the cube is at rest before we do the before we check which cube is casting up. So that's just all this is. This is the rigid body where we capture the rigid body of the cube like we did in the dice rolling, and this is where we detect the face, and this is also where we do the to check if the cube is at rest. So when it's at rest, will be zero and all of that. So you have the detect face stop. So this is where we actually do the casting. Right now I'm using debug.drawLine so that I can see the lines in engine. But you don't need to use when you're writing a production code. We will definitely be changing this to use raycast instead of the debug drawline. Um, Now we have the float. This just helps us know which of the faces is actually facing up. That's all this does. So here is where the detection takes place, and we run that, and then we'll be able to find out which of them is facing up. And we also have a layer where the okay. So I'm going to minimize this. Now we also have am I miss I think I'm missing something. I'm missing something. Okay, yes. So not here anyway. So we already have our die set. Now it's time to have what kind of view is this? What kind of shabby view is this? Okay. So before we proceed, I forgot you have to go in and make all of this mesh render enabled, so you don't have to see them in the actual game. Now we are going to create our board. Just right click on 3D object, cube. Yeah. So cube this is too big. Um, let's reset this and let's rescale this way and this way. Right. Doesn't match, but I'll just go with 20, 20. Yeah, seems too small still. So let's go 40. I can't remember the value I used for the board in the other thing. Um, yeah, this seems to be extremely small, but we're just going to drop in our and let's scale it up again. Let's do 60 by 60. Yeah, so this looks a lot better. And now we will come here, bring this up a bit. Let's take this back here a bit. Still feel like the board is a bit too. Let's do 75, 75. Yeah, I think I like this. I think I like that. So now that we have this, I'm going to click. We're going to Control D on the board. Take that. Oh, sorry. We're going to move that board up a bit. Here you go. And while we're doing that, we're going to also disable the mesh renderer here so we can see that. And we're going to set the board on a layer called detector. We're going to hit save. So now we're going to add I made some adjustments. We didn't have the rigid body attached to the dice, and we also didn't have the box collider, so I just added those two. That's all I did. So the next thing we'll be doing is um what next? Yeah. Okay, we're going to select the camera. We're going to do a camera follow. This script is quite simple. It's very simple. I'm just going to drag the dice into here and let's set our camera. Um, so I'm just going to try and do this as quickly as I can. As quickly as I can. Let's rotate the camera. Sorry for my voice level dropping. I don't know what's going on with me, but yeah. So I'm just going to do that and change this to a 5. Okay, that's bad. Let's change this to a 20, probably a 40, or let's say 100. Now once I've done that, I'm going to go here. I've already set that, so hit save and let's hit play and see what happens. Um, so basically, not enough force to actually move the dice. Uh, I think the scaling in here is just off. So I'm just going to go with the 5 and 10. The scaling here is off compared to what I originally tested with. So there you go. We can detect where it's facing up. I think I actually prefer this system instead because it just makes it easier to. Okay, I love this. So now we were to get one, and it doesn't. It won't. There won't be no face detection. You keep tapping this. If you keep tapping this until you allow it to actually get to rest, and you get 3. So if I keep tapping, it's not going to interrupt anything. It's just going to keep going. If I leave it, then it tells me 2. As you can see at the bottom there, 2. We can also go on and add like a UI system to make it show the numbers. I'll be doing that in the next video because this seems to be extremely long already. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, if you feel there's anything I can do to improve, do let me know in the comments. And if you have suggestions for what kind of tutorials you like to see, let me know down in the comment and I'll do my best to get them across to you. I feel like I wasn't very like my code explanation wasn't the best, but I'll do well to improve on that next time. So in the next video, when I see you, have a wonderful day and God bless.